Okay, guys, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the major scale. Major scale is the most major scale of them all. Yes. Honestly, that's really what it is. All of Western music is based upon the major scale. So, what I'd like to talk about today is, we can go more into that concept in some other video, but today's video is about how to access your whole guitar neck playing the major scale and kind of get out of a habit of just maybe knowing one or two spots to do improv or a lead or something. So if let's say we're in the key of G, we're playing that G down here. Okay, well, we recognize the major scale. It sounds like this. I think most people will recognize that sound. Even if you don't play music, you realize that that is very common. In fact, so many songs are written off that. In fact, all music in the Western world, in pop, rock, all of it, jazz even, is all based off that scale and then mutated this way or that way to make different chords and progressions and things. But that is the basic core of everything. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so let's say, this is more a video about, be a little bit of theory, but mostly about how to utilize all of the guitar neck. And the best way to do it, and it's something I'm still working on, is to learn every note and every name of every note in every place on the neck. And you know, some of them for example, just out of many years of playing, you kind of get to know some of them. E is easy. E, right? Sorry, E. So we kind of know things we use all the time. But outside of getting to know the fretboard from top to bottom, and if I call out a B flat, you know where every B flat is instantaneously, that is awesome, and that really should be done, and I know that. And that's something that takes a lot of work, and I'm working on that. But besides that, how can we, without knowing all that, for example, let's say we're playing in the key of G, and we want to utilize the whole guitar neck for a solo. A lot of times, most of us, especially if we're self-taught or whatever, I guess we're all self-taught, aren't we? We get used to whatever we get used to, and a lot of times if you don't push yourself out of that, you kind of will always stay there. So you hear a lot of guys who play guitar on the weekends or part-time or even just maybe even full-time, but they never get out of this. Right? Blues is great, especially if it's done properly, but honestly, the scale, the note, it's all right in one box. They call that box shape, you know that? That minor pentatonic shape. Well, why do they never get out of that? Well, because they just never really take the time to sit down and listen to other types of music and say, how do I play that? Get a book, you know, take some lessons, whatever. Because once we achieve something and it feels good and it's fun, you know? And you can kind of get stuck in that, or you run out of time or whatever. So if you're trying to go beyond that, you have to take some time to learn how things are laid out. And so here's a peek into that. We're going to work in the G major scale, as I've said. Whoops, hang on. And I don't want to just do a solo. Let's say I'm doing some chords and the band's rocking down. Something like that. Okay. Well, while that's going on, I want to do a solo. Well, the first two places I learned to play in G, and G's a natural key to play a solo in because you got a lot of open strings. Well, I figured out that open strings work. You got 3 open strings right from the beginning that are available. I also know that if you raise everything up 12 steps, 12 frets, you get a repeat. So it just makes sense to go. And I found out that little, you can hear that major scale, you learn one little lick or one little box or whatever. Easy, right? Open. Because I'm already in that position, that's easy. Well, what if I want to access all this territory in here? What do? Well, how about this concept? This is actually called modal thinking, but we won't get into that. We'll just call it this. I want to play this scale. The major scale. Fix my camera here. Get that a little bit better. Okay. I want to play the major scale. So I don't know why my camera just changed colors. Weird. But I want to play, I don't want to get out of that scale, let's just say for now. I want to stick to that. That's what the song calls for. That's what the chords are sounding like. That's what I'm playing. How do I do that outside of this area and this area? Because that's a big jump from there to there. Is that all I got? Well, no. What if we did this? What if we played the G major scale? If you notice, in this time, we're playing from the bottom note, the bass note, what we call the root, is G. We call it a G major scale because it's in the key of G. G. That happens to be a G. So that's easy. The first position we're using here, kind of with some open strings, starts on the 1. We call that the 1 because here's this very simple fact. The G major scale has 7 unique notes in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it repeats. 8. Octave. 8. Right? Well, if there's 7 steps through that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 being starting on counting on the first one, the second one, and so forth. We can start on the first note like we just did. Alright, that makes sense. What if we started on the second note? What if we started right there? Not here, but here. Do, re. What if we started on there? Is that a G major scale still? Yes, it is. We're just starting on the second degree, it's called, or the second step, or second note of this scale. So, the second degree of the G major scale, first degree is G, the root. Second degree is an A. Alright, so let's start on A. But rather than start here, we could do this. My pinky. We could start and keep our hand in the same place it was, right? This accesses a lot of open strings. So that's kind of a cool fingering for, because you're already in a chord there. It's really easy. And you could. You got a lot of things you could do with open strings. But I'm trying to show you some other options because we want to remember, we want to get out of just that and just this. We want to hit this territory in between. So here's the first thing. Starting on the first degree of the scale, of the major scale, which is G, as we just talked about, but not starting like that with your second finger on the G. But we want to put our first finger on the note we're starting on. And from now on, what I'm going to show you is all these scale forms, or fingerings for this G major scale, They're all just different fingerings of the same scale, okay? With different starting points. These are all going to be based upon the 6th string here. We're going to start on this big, fat E string. All of them will start there. We could start, you know, some up here and do a bunch of other things. What we're talking about today is scale forms that start on the 6th string. And because of that, it all works out that every time we move to a different note, you'll be starting with your pointer finger. So, back to the beginning. Rather than do this G major, which is in the chord format there, where we got a chord and we just kind of slide right into it, right? It's very cool. We already know that one. We're gonna start on the same note, but we're gonna switch our hand around and do this. We're gonna put our pointer finger on the G, on that first degree, that first step. And here's how it lays out this way to make the same scale, but my hand in this position. Here's how it works. So you have, I'm going to name out the frets here. 3, 5, 7. Skip up to the next string, which is the A string. 2nd string. Excuse me, 5th string. By the way, that took me a while to undo. The right way to name these strings, I don't mean intervals, I don't mean notes, I mean this is considered the 1st string. This one's considered, the little one's considered the 6th string. Okay? So, the 1st string, I'm sorry, that's backwards. See, I even do it. It's backwards. 6th string is in the bottom, 1st string on the top here. The big fat deep one is string number 6. Put it that way, okay? So, string number 6, 1st finger on G, which is the 3rd fret, and this is the pattern. 3, 5, 7. Go to the next string up, which is the 5th string. 3, 5, 7. So we have the same repeat. Now we're going to do this. We're going to shift up. Oops, sorry. Slide our finger up to here, and we're going to go. Sorry. 3, 5, 7. 3, 5, 7. 4, 5, 7. 4, 5, 7. 5, 7, 8. 5, 7, 8. So. That's your 1st fingering for the 6th string, right? Now we want to start, like we talked about earlier, on the 2nd note of the scale. A. And it goes like this. That first run through was wrong, so it goes. Sorry. So 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10. So that's that 2nd degree, A, of the G major scale. Okay, what's the 3rd note? That's a B. So remember, we're all working off this 6th string, the big one here, so we go to B. That's our no starting point. Still playing a G major scale, remember. We're just starting in different spots. That's all. I gotta remember now. Yes. Sorry. So this one goes like this. So we've got 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10. Then 7, 9, 11. Oops, sorry. 7, 9, 10. 7, 9, 11. 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12. So Actually, it's sorry, it's 7, 8, 10. 7, 8, 10. 7, 9, 10. 7, 9, 10. 7, 9, 11. 8, 10, 12. Twice. So. It's all still G major. Now the fourth position. I like this one. This is that would be 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 11, 12, 10, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14. It's kind of a cool sound. It goes. Next one is the fifth position. Starts on the D note. I think 5. Yep. 5. Slide up. Sorry. So this one is 10, 12, 14. Excuse, yeah, 10, 12, 14. 10, 12, 14. 11, 12, 14. 11, 12, 14 again. So it goes. This is pretty easy because it kind of repeats. It's like you go 10, 12, 14, 10, 12, 14. 11, 12, 14, 11, 12, 14. 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 15. So. Now notice you're back at G now. So, but because there are 7 notes in the scale, 1, 6, 7, before it repeats, so 7 unique notes, there are 7 starting points for that scale. So we're on the 5th one. Here's the 6th one. It starts with what? E. And 4, 5, 6. So we're starting on E on this 6th string. E, here we go. So this one is 12, 14, 15. 12, 14, 15. 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16. 13, 15, 17. 14, 15, 17. Okay, that was number 6, right? Now we're on number 7. So it's going to be an F sharp. F sharp sounds like this. Now this one, the 7th one, is really easy, based off this 6th string fingerings. Same as the 5th string. The 7th string has very simple repeating patterns. The first 2, the second 2, and the third 2, they repeat each other. So the first 2 go, which is 14, 15, 17, 14, 15, 17. Next one is 14, 16, 17, 14, 16, 17. Then you have 15, 17, 19, 15, 17, 19. So you get this. Oops. Now that was the 7th one, and now we're back at the beginning. If you wanted to do the 8th one, it's just a, like we said earlier, it's a repeat 12 frets up of the first one we did, which was this. Remember? 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 5, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. Same thing up here. And you might be able to do one more, but that's it. We're already repeating ourselves. So that's the 7 different fingerings starting here. Now, I obviously have to practice those a little bit, but honestly, I'm going to, after making this video, I'm going to, because this really helps you use all this territory. You know, if you're playing a G, and it is helpful to learn the notes. It's actually really important to learn the notes, which I haven't got completely cold down yet, of the scales you're talking about, the notes on the guitar, where they're located. So if I know, and I just happen to know this from playing for many years, if I'm in G, I know the minor to G is E minor. We call it the relative minor. It's the 6th note in the scale. E. And you notice E and G always work. Okay? So I know that if I'm playing a G, for example, if I'm playing an E minor, I can hit an E minor scale or an E minor, an E note. Let's just say that. All that is E to G and back and forth. Because I know E is in there. I know it's in there. Any E will fit there, right? In G major. So, without going into further discussion about scales and all that, just playing a G major scale can actually be fairly versatile. If you can see, what if you went into these, like for example, I'm just gonna mess around here, right? So, I'm just thinking out loud here, like, all that stuff is in the G major scale, and even if you got fancy, it's all G major. It's all the same scale, just different ways to articulate those notes. So it's helpful. You don't get just stuck up here. Or whatever. Or down here. You have there's a lot of stuff going on. Because I happen to know, sort of, I mean, I obviously still got to remember some of this and work over again, but I know where I'm at. And these fingerings are helpful because if you're ever up in here, I know, I can feel it. I'm in that, I hit a beat. I know, I just kind of... I just kind of know where I'm at, so. Yes, the highest note you can reach on this guitar is a G. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Work on those scale fingers. If somebody needs the notes on those or tab even, I can help you with that. Just message me here. I gotta work on this stuff too, so anyway, it's helpful. Hope that helped everybody. See you.